Hello everybody, my name is Marcus Fairs and I'm founder and editor-in-chief of Design, the online architecture and design magazine. And if you were here for the earlier talk, yes, that's exactly the same way I introduced myself about 2 hours ago. This talk, by the way, is being live streamed by our video team to the whole world. I'm delighted to be here with Matali Crasset.
Hello, Marcus.
And rather than introduce me yourself, which means using more memory power than I actually have, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Where are you from? Where did you study? And how did you get to where you are today?
Yeah, so I come from a small village in the Champagne area. Then I went to Paris to study design in a school called l'ENSI, École Nationale Supérieure de Création Industrielle. It's an important school in France. To be a product designer. And then I went to Italy and I worked 1 year in the Denis Santa Chiara studio. Then I came back to Paris and started to collaborate with Philippe Starck. I collaborated with him during 5 years and mostly for the project of Thomson Multimedia, doing electronics goods and being also responsible of the design team of this big company. And then I did create my own studio.
And you have an approach to design which you called pragmatic
Yeah.
design, and we're going to talk about that a bit later on. But first of all, do you want to talk us through some of your projects?
So it's always difficulty for me for selecting the project I want to show, but I wanted to show a diversity of projects, even if we have a short time. So I'm gonna show you one object, I'm gonna show you one interior, and so the idea is to see a little bit different types of typology of projects. I just started with this kind of drawing showing there is a lot of ways of being pragmatic, and I will let you know a little bit further. So the first project I wanted to show is the project I made with the Manufacture de Sèvres. So they do porcelain. It's a warrior manufacturer, so they exist from a long time. And so when I start to think about what could I do, I didn't want to draw the new vase or whatever. I think I'm gonna have the same type of thinking by finding more a system than doing an object. And I start to go deeper into the archive. They have a lot of mold, they have a lot of different shapes. And suddenly I thought maybe the project is not to do another shape, but maybe to combine shapes. So I start to take the layout of the object, and I did 3D construction in my studio. And then I decided that I could mix and merge one object of the past and one contemporary one in order to do a small collection, which is in fact more a system. So as you can see, it's a vase, but with the idea of mixing two pieces. One is becoming a little bit anthropomorphic, and the other is becoming the cape. And like that, I have an ongoing system because we have plenty of shapes. We can try different types of capes and body. And like that, then I do a kind of play with the colors also. I do like colors because colors for me is life, and so it was important for me to start like that in a very pragmatic way, and then little by little I enter more in discussion with the person working in this company, and we try to analyze and find different ways also to make this range evolve. And suddenly I asked to go deeper into some techniques in order and this is the last collection I'm doing. So it's very interesting because it's an ongoing system, starting from just a little idea and then reacting with the people working there. And this is the blue specific of this manufacturer, because they are very well known about this blue.
And just to ask a question about this project. So you showed at the beginning like a computer drawing, but how do you approach the project? Do you take pots and smash them up? Do you sketch? Do you
No,
conceptualize in your mind?
I try to find all the different shapes, and then I try to design them in 3D, and then I play with them. It was really a way to say, can I mix this one and the other one?
On the computer,
on
though?
the computer.
You're working on the computer,
Yeah, sure, because I have no possibility to touch the pieces. I just, so it was really like another process, and I like it a lot, because maybe the surprise came much more than thinking, you know. Sometimes you make connections that you can't thought before.
So the computer is your sketchbook in a way, in that sense?
Yeah, in this case, yeah.
Yeah.
Most of the time, I'm not designing first. I'm not doing sketches. I think design is more about thinking. So I must have the clear idea of what I want to do first in my head, because designing is fixing too much. When you draw, then after, as a human being, for you it's difficult to not go back and change your mind or change the idea. And design is about this, you know. Having a direction, but then after questioning this direction, and as far as I'm concerned, the drawing is not helping me to do that. So I really took a lot of time to think first, and then I draw when I'm pretty sure, and when I feel that the project is worthwhile to be done in a way.
And you do that with every project? You almost like conceptualize your approach first, rather than starting, it's Sevres, it's pots, so let me draw some pots.
I really like that every designer has a different way of working, and in my case, I'm really using the drawing much more for communication, to explain to others and my teams, but not so much for finding ideas. It's not my way of doing things.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I've met a lot of designers, a surprisingly large number of designers, and even some architects who don't draw. Yeah. Actually.
I draw for my pleasure in the evening, for relaxing, but not like too much like to find the shape, or I'm not so much interested in finding shapes or whatever. It's more the idea of what kind of intention I could bring into the project, and then the intention will be in a way so strong that she will push the shape, and even the material will be chosen automatically in a way in the process.
That's really interesting, because I think a lot of people have a preconceived idea that design must start with a pencil. In fact, the root of the word design in many languages is to draw.
Yeah.
But you use drawing to explain to someone the process that you already almost completed in your mind.
In a way, when I think about the project, I'm able in my head. I remember the teacher was saying you must have a clear image in your head, you know. But I like that, you know, to see, to feel, and to see the project and be able to turn. And even when I'm doing a space, I can enter inside, and I can a little bit understand what kind of interaction you could have in this space. For me, it's more interesting to work like that than checking if the shape is good or not, because it's not my way of functioning.
But how long did it take you to have confidence in this approach? Because you worked with Stark for 5 years, and everyone knows the famous stories about Stark. Like, for example, the lemon squeezer. The product was designed by him sketching. So the idea evolved after having lunch with somebody and drawing squid and things like that. Did you?
Stark is a lot about intuitions. He had a lot of intuition, and then he drew perfectly well. He can draw a small chair bigger than that, and then you copy it and you make it becoming larger, and it's the exact proportion. It's his way of working. It's not mine, in fact.
But when you were working with Stark, did you already have this methodology?
No. I was working like Stark was asking in a way. Yeah.
So you had to unlearn it afterwards.
Yeah. No, but not because in this I was able to, in a way, to work with my own way of thinking, because it's not the idea only of of drawing. It's the idea of finding the idea, and like that, I was able to to use my own methodology to find ideas.
So how do you find ideas then? Do you go for a walk in the countryside? Do you sit at your desk? Do you watch television?
I can find idea everywhere. There is plenty of possibility. I like to take the constraints, and then I like to forget about them, because and try to have to enter into intimacy, and to find something more sensible, something coming from me and not coming from the context. So maybe I have a good example in the next project to explain. So it was the idea to do a bookshop in a museum in Dijon. This place is quite amazing because they have a museum, but they also have an edition. So it's called Les Presses du Réel, and they are doing edition about art books, very avant-garde books. So they wanted to do in this museum a place to show all the books they have made. And as they are very, let's say, it's a very specific space, I have to find a very specific project also for the space. And at that time, I was thinking about this book, and moreover, I don't know if you know Fahrenheit 451, made by a French Truffaut, French. And in fact, in this country, the idea is to say that you are not allowed. The story is to say that you are not allowed to read anymore. So you have firemen, but firemen are destroying the books. So what? And so it's a kind of it's a kind of country like that. So what's it bring, to be able not to have any books. So I was wondering during the preparation of the project about that, and I just let my imagination, like that, remembering this film, because I liked very much the colors, I like very much the scenario of the film, and then at the end. I remember this sequence, and it's a train. It's a suspending train. It's called monorail. It was an existing prototype in France, but and as you can see, it's a piece of the film. And in fact, this train is a prototype, in fact, and not the film anymore. And suddenly, it gets clear in my mind that I could, as I always try to find a new typology, that I could use this idea of suspended structure. As you know, I don't like, in fact, I didn't want it to have shelves and, which are in a way blocking the space and in a way also fixing it. The idea was to be a little bit more flexible. We didn't want to show so much books. You have plenty of them, but to have a more kind of quality of displaying things. So as you can see, I display the structure in a way that it could become tables, and you could also have presentation on them. And in fact, the books are in this container, and they can turn, and in order to be able to enter in the center, or to make them in a way entering into this place, because the idea is also to have the possibility to be in the center and to discuss about the books, because they are inviting also people to come, writers, to discuss about what is art today and the evolution of the society and so on. So you have extra seats organized, and I like the idea that it's round, because it's really the idea of sharing in the center, and I just have these colors making like something very soft around, and I really like this project because it's a kind of new typology, and at the same time is really what I want to do, flexible spaces, and also the intention is to say, books are important today, and books are important because they can support the kind of criticism, contestation, and things like that, like what they do in this space. And art also is important today.
So the idea came from thinking about a book that was
book,
about
and then the film
the destruction of books.
Of Truffaut, because this film is very aesthetic. Truffaut normally is not working like that, you know. So yeah, it came like that. Yeah.
Yeah, but is it important to you if somebody goes into that library? Is it important to you that they see the connection, or is it okay that they just read it as
a? It's not my way. No. I don't think people will remember and make the connection. It's just my way of my starting point, and then people forget about that.
Yeah.
So another project is in Slovenia. So the idea was to make as either a small exhibition in a museum and also a real project in a territory. And I was invited to do a project in the forest. So the project is called Occupying Wood. And so it's a small city called Cochreria. And they normally have a lot of different factories to transform wood, but now it's collapsing. And so the city, little by little, is not anymore looking to the wood and to the forest. So the idea was to say how we could make a kind of link between this community and the wood again. And the first step was to analyze a little bit what the forest is today, with different, and then I was once more remembering the idea of the golem, who is protecting the Jewish community. It's a golem made in mud. And suddenly I say, I would like to do that, you know, to have this kind of character, a kind of protector for the community, and to invite them to stay a little bit in the forest. As you can see in the picture here, with the small, you see the oven. I was really, I went into families, and I see in all the families a big oven in tiles. And I really like this object because it was in every house different. And sometimes they have a seat in one part, they dry the clothes in the other one, and sometimes they have some stairs and you can stay nearby the stove. So it was very interesting because it became like a small type of a small architecture, but inside. And so I say, yeah, it's clear. I'm gonna start from this stove, and I'm gonna place this stove in the outside. And this is how I decided to show this in and my intentions into the museum. And to be complete with this idea, this display has been made by the carpenters, because you have a school there, but nobody wants to be a carpenter anymore because there is no opportunity anymore. So they did a very interesting school, but you know, as the director is really concerned because now nobody wants to do this job anymore. So the idea was to say, hey guys, you could also do this, you could also do structure like that, you have just behind. So working with wood is not only to do chairs, you have plenty of possibility. And then this is the project I've done, so it's kind of protector. It's using these tiles, so you can stay a little bit longer in the forest because you have the heat, and it's like welcoming you to stay, and sure, you have plenty of possibilities. It could be for the hunters, it could be for the mushroom pickers, you have all different people. It could be for a classroom. We select a place nearby a school, sure, and you can invent, in fact, a kind of rendezvous and going there in order to stay a little bit longer, because in Slovenia also it's also cold in autumn and spring, so you can stay a little bit longer in the forest for that. And this is how it's looked like. So the idea was also to do this project with craftsmen of the place, because they still are some craftsmen, they can do this type of works. And as you can see on the shoulder, you can prepare some tea. You have another fireplace there, and you can bake some bread in the head. So you can really invite people and make a kind of a new ritual with this community just on the border of the forest, to invite people to rediscover a little bit the forest.
But these stoves, are they, when you were talking about it earlier, I didn't quite understand. Are they usually used inside or outside?
Yeah, they are inside. It's out it's the heating of the place.
Actually, like in the old houses in Stockholm, they have a similar, like a ceramic tube thing.
It's also in Alsace, in the east of France. You also have such a type of heating.
So how does this work then? When people are walking through the forest, do they chuck some extra logs in to keep it going? Does it go all the time?
Yeah, we do think about how to make it work, and these two persons are in fact a little bit in charge, because they are they were always doing a kind of promenade every day. So as soon as they saw that we were installing the project, they wanted to be in charge, in fact, of this project. So that is how it's functioning right now. So in the forest, you also have people who care about the forest, so they are bringing the wood, so we can have some stock to be used for this project too. So the idea was to involve all the different persons there.
And it gets used, so it's popular. You had all the suggestions of what it could be used for, and is it popular? Do people queue up? Do they have to book it?
No reason to. No. It's just you there is no booking.
It's free to anybody.
It's free, and Another very unusual project. It's a private person, Ingrid Brochard, and she wanted to bring. It's called MUMO, so Mobile Museum. She wanted to bring the art, contemporary art, into small villages. In France, we call this the white places. So it means there is no museum, and for example, 60% of the kids and parents never went to a museum, so it's huge. So the idea is to try to do a small museum. So I had to start from an existing big track, and my goal in this way was one more to be a little bit pragmatic, to say how we could transform this big industrial track into a small museum. So the first things I thought was to say, I'm gonna bring not only the track, but I'm gonna bring a kind of like colors or a kind of atmosphere. It's like a circus. When a circus is arriving in a small village, they just open, and sometimes, it's the beginning of something marvelous. So I wanted to get the same idea, only by using the mechanism of the van, the track, because you have two big drawers. You can see them, the drawers, to get more space into the track. And I use this mechanism, hydraulic mechanism, in fact, to open some doors. You can see the doors on the border. You just have then after to attach the roof, and then you get some spaces to welcome the people at the beginning, so they could sit before entering and see what is inside. And it's also the place where they can organize animation. So the first population, it's mainly for kids. So it's go from village to village, and then the kids are in charge of welcoming parents when the school is over. So, and this is the other side. So the other side is used to show what is the result of the animation. And inside, I just wanted to make a small cabinet de curiosité. because the idea is not to have big monumental pieces. The idea at the opposite is to have a lot of different artists showing very diverse works in order to be able to reach the interest of the kids. And so I wanted to place them in this kind of frame, wooden frame, and this kind of wooden skeleton. And you have in the center the possibility also to place sculptures and more 3D objects. And you have drawers also, you could hide things and things like that. You have a small bookshelves at the back of this central part. And then you have a kind of a small lounge, where it's red, because we project in fact film of artists, and this place could be also dedicated to do like installation. If an artist wants to do installation, it's possible. And this projection also could be organized in a big window, so they could do like driving system in the evening. And this is how it's functioning. So I forget to say something very important. This track, you see the different art pieces. They come from the fund, the regional fund of each region in France. It's called FRAC. They are fund of artists, art contemporain. They are collecting pieces from actual artists, and in fact they sometimes organizing exhibition, but most of the pieces are never shown, you know, so are never. So the idea is to in fact extract these pieces and to make them entering into this presentation and then go in the villages.
And there is just one of these tracks? Or
There is only one for the moment. And it's really traveling a lot, and
So tell me how how do they choose where it goes to? Do communities say, can we have the mobile museum?
They discuss with the school and also with the villages and the mayor of the villages, and then it's free. So the truck arrives. It's very easy to be open and to be placed. And then it's a little bit more complex that you could see, because as we have art piece, we need to have a good ventilation, and we need to be able to keep even in winter the inside temperature. So it was quite,
and humidity as well.
Yeah, it was quite complex to develop, and so it's not actually an existing tract. We did a lot of change before using it for this purpose.
I grew up in a small village in England, and combining two of your projects, we used to have a mobile library that came around.
Yeah.
There was a truck with books in it.
Yeah.
Did you have that in France?
Yeah, I had also this in my small village.
I'd forgotten about it until you showed me this.
Yeah. Let's see the last project I bring. It's in Tunisia this time, and it's in a small city called Nefta. So you have a kind of international airport, Tozeur, and then it's very quick, you know. So it's nearby Algeria, not Libya is just not so far, but it's more near Algeria. And it's a place where you have the desert. And this is how this small city is looking like. It's not so big change, you know. This is the main square of the small city. And I was, in fact, invited to do a project, a new type of hotel. So it's not even an hotel, it's more a kind of retreat. The idea is to be able to discover Tunisia, to stay a little bit longer, and also to discover the desert, which is 8 kilometers far from this place. And you also have the Star Wars setting there. And also to see a little bit how the small city is functioning in connection with the palm grove, because the center of the place, it's the palm grove. This is one part, and in fact, the place we built is just there, where we are looking to the palm grove. And this is a genuine palm grove, and then they did another palm grove, industrial one. They planted a lot of palm trees in order to get that. But little by little, this palm grove became a little bit weak because they are not caring anymore about this place. And oops. Here you can see on the top, this city was quite known because it was the first Sahara palace. But then when Ben Ali, the former president, came, he just stopped this palace because it was a presidential palace in a way. So for now, it's just a kind of a ghost in the city. So the idea was to explain to this small community also that we can change a little bit the logic of doing a kind of hotel in this place, having a more tiny one, and asking the people to enter a little bit more into have interaction with the people and the place there. And because the palm grove is quite interesting in a way, the palm grove needs human and human need palm grove. So it's a kind of a very easy interaction, and you can really hold this when you stay there. And so I decided to go to make small units, and sure it's surrounded by the wall, because in Tunisia you keep the intimacy. So it was I kept the same ideas. I forget to say that this project has been made with two persons. One is Tunisian and one is French. And we did other places before. We did the high hotel, so it was not the first time we collaborate together. And what I like is with these two guys, the idea was to say that we do always something different. So the idea is when we do projects in Nice, it was completely different. And here, the idea was to look at what's the culture of Tunisia during 3 years, and suddenly be able to do something contemporary using some parts of this Tunisian culture.
But so it's a hotel, did you say? It's a hotel for tourists or for local people, or what is the audience of this place?
It's either for European and for Tunisian. The idea also is to have both. So the first idea I get is to make some pile houses like that, because you could have a kind of place to stay on the top, but also you have a kind of protected terrace in between the feet, because there most of the time you have too much sun. You have to be protecting from the sun. So it's how a little bit it looks like. So you have different small houses like that. Looking at the palm grove with a big opening, with the idea of even having the possibility to stay there and to look, and it's very is really functioning, because you stay there already. The rhythm of Tunisia is so slow, so you forget, very quickly about you empty yourself to be able to get something else. And also you can really look at the city like a small mock-up inside. You can see people working, you can see, so it's a place where you could really go to introspection really. And this is how to explain also that we are connected to a spring, a hot water spring. So the water is arriving on the top of the building there, where we have the spa, and then it goes in the small pool. The pool is just in the center, on piles too. And this is not a swimming pool, it's a thermal pool, sorry. And then the water is going there, down, and then it's going all over the place, and then falling, and then going back to the palm grove to be used again for the plantations. So you have different of these little housing, and this is the spa, where you have, in fact, different. We really use all the ingredients. I forget to say that all has been made by Tunisian, because the idea really was to work with the people there, and we also use the tradition way. So they know about hammam, they know about massage and gommage and traditional also massage. So, and this is the pool, the how you feel just in the center of this little cabin. And you have, so it's always hot, it's always 30, and because it started at 70, and it's so we use this water also to get the energy for the hotel. So it's a geothermal functioning, and then here you can stay in this water and looking at the stars, even the night. It's the best place to be after dinner. And so they have all different views. This one is a little bit more looking at the city. And I wanted to, once more, not to enter into this type of codes of hotel codes. I really want to take some existing part I saw into people housing, in order to find something very simple in a way. And so the space is always a little bit like that, and there is an interesting part in this country that they have only two type of wood, the palm tree and the tree here that they call the red tree, and so it's, you have to and the interesting thing for a designer also, that when they use the palm trees, they use the roots to do something, they use the skin, they use the interior also to do the branches. So they know pretty well, as they have a few things, how to use all the entire piece of the wood and of the tree. And for me, this was very important to be able to use this also, and to collaborate with the carpenters, and these shelters have been made by the women of the city, because they always do blankets for themselves. So.
And what is the whole thing constructed from? Is it concrete or is it
Adobe?
Yeah,
we did like they do. In fact, first we wanted to do it in mud, but it was not possible to find somebody to help us to do it. So we decided to build it like with so you have the concrete piles and then support, and then they use a double layer of bricks, and they are producing these bricks in this country. So it's what we did. And this is the kitchen. So already in Nice, the kitchen was open, but in this case, the idea was to be able to see really how the woman of and once more, it's not a chef. You are not selecting what you want to eat. You have the proposal of a menu every day, different. You can see them on the window. And if you want, you can also go there and prepare things with them. So the idea was really to enter, because you have a specific cooking in this type of dessert, because once more they have few ingredients, but they have the ability to prepare something very different with
a lot of dates, I imagine.
Not so much. And this is I didn't want to have TV sets in the rooms, because it's not. I think it was a little bit, it was, so we share, in fact, the idea, kind of programmation together. The fireplace is very important, because in the deserts it's cold in the evening. And then this is the place, another type of room I did. It's called the dune. The idea was to be able to stay in a kind of landscape. So they are under into the dune, these ones, and it's more for families. And so the intimacy is made by these dunes. And just to explain that this project, it's just, we never do with this with Patrick and Philippe, we never do a project just for doing a project. Each time we have another intention which is wider. And so from the beginning we created an association called Pam Lab with the idea of helping for the renovation of the palm grove, and but in this case we also launched different types of program, and for the new generation also the idea was to in fact more prepare program about music, and so it's a place where you have a lot of Sufi music. So so the idea was to mix electro and Sufi music. So it's called Ouche music. And Atem is a Tunisian DJ and musician, and so he went to collaborate with the groups of Sufi. We are very traditional, and did record some pieces, and now he is proposing this to the young, and to be able to mix and to start from their culture and try to go for something contemporary.
So these programs, this is to help local children, or
yeah,
something like that?
The idea is to find a way, to make them participate, and to even have the will to think of something interesting in this place, because most of the young generation, they want to leave. They don't want to stay anymore, as you know. A lot of Tunisians wants to go to France and even to, but the idea is to say you can build also things there, and so we try to, we have different types of programs.
So it has a social purpose as well.
Yeah. To give them confidence and also a little bit of know-how in music and so on. And just to finish, this is a way. So this is the Pantry Doors, which is very traditional of the place. And here you can see the place just at the top of the hill, and it's a picture to show also that this idea came from this. With the idea of going on with the same type of construction. So it's more kind of vernacular construction. So they do small blocks, and most of the time they build one blocks, and then they leave the remaining part, metal part, to be able to build a second floor when there is a wedding in the family, and so on and so on. So the idea was to...
Which is a very pragmatic approach.
A pragmatic approach in a way to be integrated into the structure of the city.
Because I was going to ask you, where did the architectural forms come from? But my question is answered in this picture.
It's mixed. I had this idea of having the pill house are not existing there. It's something they don't have. Sometimes they have water tower, but not like that. But I really wanted to do the place and to have a kind of terrace, protected terrace, in order to be all together, but also a little bit protected, because most of the time it's too hot, in fact, so you need to be protected from the sun. So it came from that, and I didn't want to have a big building or whatever. I just wanted to articulate different places, have different view, like a small village in a way.
Is this the last?
Yeah,
the last
this
image?
is the last image.
So you've shown us 5 different projects, and I think apart from the first one, all of the others, the library, the structure in the forest, the mobile gallery, and the hotel, they all have a very strong social purpose to them, to bring people together, to educate them somehow, to create some kind of good. Is that important to you? Is that something
I really think at least in France, we design could be interesting as such is mixing social and cultural and art, because it's two big legs we have in France, and we must keep that, you know. When we talk about this mobile museum, we have the fund, we have the collections of art, you know, and so the idea was to say how we show that to the people and just find a way, you know, to use this and to be more generous in showing this in different places. So I really like the idea of, but nevertheless, every project in a way is you have to find a direction which is in fact is bringing an answer and bringing in the field of social, in the field of artistic, in the field of programmatic, what he is doing, and also in the field of ecologic. And this is always mixed. It is not separated, you know. So the direction must be stronger in order to bring all this together. You understand what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. So do you say no to a lot of projects? If somebody said to you, build a hotel for rich people.
Yeah, no, well, I did the first hotel in Nice, and then a lot of people came because we get a lot of communication about it. It was 12 years ago, even more. And but what I like to do, it's logic. It's not only having the possibility. And if you want to do something strong and do a new typology, you need to think global. So you need to have access to all the different ingredients. So most of the time people just wanted to take one of the ideas and be able to do another project with that. And I think it's not working. I think my know-how is more to be very concentrated in one context, to analyze that and be able to give a different answer by having this step a little bit apart, having a different way to look at things. And this is a little bit the definition of what pragmatism could be. Pragmatism, it was in fact, it started in United States, and it was created by Charles Sanders Peirce, as you know, maybe, and then it was more developed by John Dewey and Williams James. And in fact, if we want to be short, they explain that the goal of intelligence is not to have to gain knowledge, but it's to act. So they really think that we must use our thinking for productions, for acting, and I think it's really what we need right now. And I think it's also really what design is about for me. And right now we think there is a lot of different challenges, but it's not anymore the idea of trying to find how the world is evolving, because it's not anymore possible. So if you look at one situation on a very specific context and with a specific community working there or living there, then you could be able to find a logic, a new logic, and to make this situation going on, and to find the possibility to make an evolution of this place. And so that's why I'm very interested by this idea of pragmatism. It's a philosophical tradition, in fact, and you still have a lot of philosophers working around this idea right now. But I think it's we all think we are living in a global society. Everybody should want the same objects, and because we see the pictures everywhere and things like that. But it's not the case. There is a lot of different reality, and there is a lot of different desire. So I think we have a diversity of reality, and so we could really, as designer, be able to reach this diversity, to select some places, and be able to do things with them in the same time.
It's interesting actually because you've been following this approach for a long time.
Yeah.
But now if you go to the design schools, particularly Eindhoven and places like that, you see that the students are also working in a similar way.
Yeah.
They don't want to be Philippe Starck anymore. They
Yeah,
don't want to
yeah,
have. They don't want to create the iconic solution. They want to delve deep. They want to work with the community. They want to work with a scientific process, with a
Yeah.
material, with a disease or something like that. And they want to come up with a solution that's tailored to that, which by definition then can't be replicated all around the world.
Design is less about when I started to be designer, the idea was to work for everybody, and in the same time to give everybody the same thing, like a universality of the people. But it's less and less the case, and also we have this ecological challenge, and maybe it was a big failure to give too much power and importance to in fact, to the evolution of the human being, like les Lumières wanted to do. And in fact, right now, what we could do is more to protect an environment, a plate there, but not only the nature there, but also the people living there and the way they interact with the nature. And this is starting right now. There is a lot of different examples about that. And to really twist our way of thinking, how we perceive the nature and how we perceive also the interaction with nature. And so we have to make this change, and we have to, in a way, find the juridic construction for doing that.
I'm getting signals that we're out of time, but I just want to make one last cheeky question to you.
Yeah.
So having worked for Philippe Starck for 5 years, you then left and have almost started the AntiStart movement.
No, I don't think so. Starck is not so... No, Starck is doing quite a lot of different projects too, no? He is also involved in... For me, Starck was a very important character, because in France, without Starck, design will be like very, nowhere, He did open a lot of different doors. For my generation, it was easy, to be a designer, because Starck has shown in a way that it has an economical value. And so I can't, and also Starck is also involved in different projects. It could be, he is very concerned also about the impact of the human beings and so on.
Okay, so you're both doing the same thing but in different ways.
No,
you're still friends.
No. I mean, each designer has to bring something different. So I hope I'm bringing something a little bit different than the other. The idea is not to try to make a kind of a school of French design, because we are really completely different, and this is what I really like, because we can. There is opportunity to have very different character, and also people after a while came because we have this specific ability to bring something very singular into the project, and it's really what I like. So the artistic part in my work is very important, and people now want want this singularity and the artistic part also.
Okay, Matali, thank you so much.
Thanks to you.